Frequency Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. You made it. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining me here on this pinnacle of the week. You made it to the weekend again, and here I was just waiting for you to get here. So now we can have a show. Hope you guys had a great week, and thanks so much for being here with me. There's no co-host tonight other than all of you out there, so it's just me and all of you. So we're going to have to carry the load tonight, but that's okay. Sheldon will be with us tomorrow, so that'll be good as well. But we got a lot on the board tonight to cover, and great to see all you guys coming in to take part in the festivities of the Paranormal Portal. As always, I work hard to bring you the best choice cuts of the paranormal that I can farm up for you. I don't know. I do the best I can, but I hope you guys are having a great weekend or a great start to it. It means a lot that you come in and donate part of your weekends to hang out with me. That sure warms my heart every time that I see the population of the chats on YouTube go up and up and up. It's a heck of a thing. I really appreciate it. So we got a lot of things to cover tonight. Of course, we're going to get into the news as always, right on the top end of the show. And then we're going to get into the Discord question of the week, pop into some other paranormal goodness, and round it all out with Cryptid Corner. The Cryptid Corner, of course. Got some really cool articles from SasquatchChronicles.com blog, as well as a couple from Phantoms and Monsters, Lon Strickler's site. So we'll see where we end up. What we don't cover tonight, we can always hit tomorrow night. So that's the beauty of having shows that continue. Whatever we don't get done, we can always clean up the next night. There's no like paranormal quota on any show. And remember, if any of you out there have paranormal experiences you want to share on the live show, by all means, feel free to call in and become part of the discussion. You can call in at 720-923-0500. And the number, if you're on YouTube, is right below my face, right down there in the lower third, courtesy of Wes Germer. Thank you, sir. Just looks so darn professional. I almost don't know if I'm qualified to do the show. But now if you're looking on YouTube, those of you on YouTube, of course, are getting extra, actually, because I am running the Ghost Radar as we're doing the live shows. The last few live shows have been running this, and it's been kind of interesting. Now, let me just say, first and foremost, Ghost Radars on a whole are they're indicative of potential activity, but I don't think you can ever go, well, I got a ghost radar and it says there's a ghost right here. Maybe there is, maybe there's some other anomaly, but just to give you a little bit of back-end science-y stuff about it, that anything that uses wireless, whether it's your telephone, your computer, your laptop, your video game thing or whatever, tablet, they all use wireless. They have a component in them called a magnetometer. And a magnetometer is just a fancy name for something that works with electromagnetic fields to communicate. But what these programs attempt to do, like the Ghost Radar that's on the screen, is to utilize the narrow bandwidth. There's only they're very finely tuned, the magnetometers, so they only use a small range of the electromagnetic spectrum. But if they detect things, it should be able to show you in a at least a 2D space where the anomaly is happening that it's detecting. Now, could that be spiritual? Well, it could be. Certainly, K2 meters and other EMF devices are used in paranormal research to possibly indicate the presence of a spirit. There seems to be a correlation between their presence and EM anomalies. So this could be. Now, is it proof in and of itself? No. But it along with other tools can be indicative of actual activity. And of course, there's so many other correlating factors, temperature, barometrics, other things, such as, if you have the ability to use a ghost ovulus or something like that, or other kind of viewing technology, whether it's infrared, IR, ultraviolet, or FLIR, where you see heat or cold. Those can also be indicative, as well as other technologies. So it's an imperfect art, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun because sometimes weird stuff happens in the studios. I hear from some of you, the listeners, look, weird stuff's happening in my house as I'm listening to the shows. And first and foremost, I apologize for that. I don't know if that I'm facilitating that or not, or if it's just by matter of us thinking about this stuff, discussing it. Does it summon it to us? Maybe. So what I've started doing is putting the ghost radar on the screen, and we may very well see anomalies, may not. On Saturday or last Wednesday's show, it was pretty much flatlined through the whole show, and only at one point during the show did two things pop up for just seconds and then disappear. Now, those are anomalous. I don't know what caused them. Where they were showing up on the ghost radar would have been in an empty space on just behind the camera. There's nothing really over there, and nothing that should be generating an EM field other than, general electronics. But none of them are running. They're all shut off. So, I don't know. You be the judge. But it's been kind of interesting. Two or three shows ago, I guess it was a week ago, or it was last week's Saturday show, my Skype actually shut down, which has never happened to me during a live show ever. So, and that was right up at oh, look at the radar now. There you go. There's detecting apparently something standing right beside me here, and then something standing on the other side by the camera. Now they're gone. Okay. So also, let me just tell you that the colors mean something. When it was green on the screen, those mean a general, not really intense energy. If it comes up red, you'll also hear this parcel tongue. They got a creepy sound effect built into this thing. It gives me the Lulus every time, but it's kind of fun. So we'll see what pops up during the show. Again, am I claiming that is paranormal activity? No. But could it be? Maybe. You be the judge. So it's always when you're alone. Yeah, it seems to be when Don's here, I think the beard scares him off. So it's just me tonight. So we'll see what happens. So I guess without further ado, folks, we can dive into the news and just see what I've managed to pull up for your viewing and listening pleasure. Welcome to everybody on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream, and welcome to all of you in the YouTube audience. I appreciate it. And let's get started here with the news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the news desk here on the Paranormal Portal. And John Stevenson, what's that? John Temperin says, that's Don popping in. I don't think Don's invisible yet. Hopefully, never. Love Don dearly. So, no, I don't think it's him. He's not here, but I'm here. So welcome to the news desk, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I've pulled a whole bunch of articles for us to discuss and go over throughout the course of I love the music. You have to thank Wes Germer for that music. He made that whole intro to the news segment, and he pulled out the Barry White music and stuff. I mean, there's no vocals, obviously, but it's definitely that 70s vibe, and it just gets me grooving every time. So let's get to the news and find out just what I did manage to find for your enjoyment tonight. Let me close that. Get that out of the way. All right. So the first article on our news festival of fun here on the Paranormal Portal is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one's kind of interesting. This one's brand new to me because it's brand new. And so this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Please, ladies and gentlemen, support the site. Check out what they're doing over there. Brilliant site. I just fascinated with it. It's just always updated regularly and current. They just do a hell of a job. So we'll see if any of our spiritual audience enjoys some news. We'll see if anything pops up on the ghost radar. But the first one up on the news fest is alleged sea monster spotted off the coast of Somerset, England. There you go. Is that it? Or is it a log? I don't know. It looks kind of unremarkable to me, but let's see what the article says. It says, a strange shape not dissimilar with what typically associated with the Loch Ness Monster was recently sighted in the water. Anna Peirce had been enjoying a day out along the shoreline of Clevedon with her 6-year-old daughter at the weekend when she spotted something strange out at sea. The object she noted looked an awful lot like the Scotland's famous Loch Ness Monster. Myself and my 6-year-old daughter, Grace, were walking along the seafront on Sunday and were sitting on one of the benches before the pier, she said. The shape was right next to the pier and I noticed it moving. It moved all the way along the sea in front of us whilst we were sat there. My daughter Grace said it looked like a sea monster. Just the shape of it reminded me of Nessie. Peirce wasn't the only one to spot the alleged creature that day. Several other visitors to the area also reported seeing something unusual in the water and posted up photographs on social media. Far from being an ocean-dwelling cousin of Nessie, however, the monster is far more likely to have been a little more than a piece of driftwood being carried by the tide. Even Peirce herself admitted that this was the most likely explanation. It was driftwood, of course, but it just looked so unusual, she added. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I grew up along a shoreline and saw all kinds of fantastic driftwood drifting by, and some of it does look like it might be alive, but it's just, with wood, when it gets waterlogged, it does this kind of bobbing thing. It kind of submerges and it will slowly, because there's enough air trapped in the wood still, will slowly emerge to the surface, act like, like you would think of a turtle, how they kind of come up and poke their heads up and they're there for maybe 30 seconds and then boop, they go back down. And this is very similar to the activity of very waterlogged driftwood. And so I'm pretty sure that that's what they saw, but it's still kind of cool. You never know. Could it be? Maybe, but I'm not probably banking on it personally, but it could be. So that's the first article up on the News Fest for tonight. And let's get to more and find out just what else I've curated for your enjoyment. All right, next up is another article from unexplained-mysteries.com. This is also from today. And this one's kind of neat. It has more to do with archaeology and history. So we'll have to see how long this article is. So hopefully it's not too long. No, it's nice and short. My favorite kind because they fit into the newscast really well. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Hidden corridor in Great Pyramid of Giza revealed for the first time. Well, there you go. There's a picture of it for those of you on YouTube you can check out. I don't know, pretend to know much about the pyramids, but I'm pretty sure they weren't just built as burial chambers for pharaohs and stuff. I mean, it's just such an ambitious project with millions of stones in them, several, many of them weighing several tons. And even, primitive societies were able to do amazing things. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not so convinced that these are the same thing as the other things that were built along the first dynasties or whatever. I have a feeling these were around a lot longer, but how can I substantiate that? I can't. I just don't know enough. But I've listened to some interesting speakers, and it's enough to make you question. But anyway, archaeologists have released footage from inside the corridor, which is situated above the pyramid's main entrance. The hidden passage, which was first discovered back in 2016 using a technique known as muography had remained something of an enigma until recently when researchers fed a tiny endoscopic camera through a small gap in the stonework to find out what was inside. The footage it captured shows a space within the pyramid that likely hasn't been seen by human eyes for thousands of years. A corridor 9 meters long and 2.1 meters wide with a vaulted ceiling. The exact purpose of this corridor remains unclear. Some archaeologists believe that it helped to redistribute the structure's weight, while others believe it could lead to additional hidden spaces. We're going to continue our scanning, so we will see what we can do to figure out what we can find out beneath it or just at the end of this corridor, said Mostafa Waziri of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Wow, that's a hell of a title. Where do you work? The Supreme Council of Antiquities. There have been many other claims of hidden rooms and corridors in Egypt's most famous monuments and tombs over the years, and it's nice to see one of them conclusively confirmed in this way. It'll be interesting to see what else, if anything, lies further along the passageway. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a picture. It's interesting because they're obviously, I guess, still learning. What? It said pansy. It also has a vocal generator on it. I've never really found too much of interest in that, but it said pansy. I am not. What a rude ghost. Whatever it is. I'm a pansy. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't talking about me. Maybe it just likes that flower or something. Pansy. That's funny. Ghost Radar called me a pansy. You can... I'll exercise you later. All right, let's get back to it and get to the next one. And this is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one is weird. Apparently from the president of Mexico. So this is not your ordinary news source, I guess, for oddities. But it's from unexplained-mysteries.com. President of Mexico posts up bizarre photo of mythical elf-like creature. And for those of you on YouTube, there's the photo. Looks like a being in the tree with extraordinarily white hair. Could that be La Lorna? I don't know. Let's see what it says. President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador sparked puzzlement and intrigue when he posted the image up on Twitter. In a bizarre tweet published February 25th, Lopez Obrador, who is certainly no stranger to eccentricity, posted up what he seemingly believed was genuine evidence of a mythical creature. His post included two images, one of a strange creature in a tree that he claimed had been captured on camera by an engineer 3 days earlier, and a second of a Mayan sculpture. The creature he claimed was an aluxe. I don't know what an aluxe is. A type of mischievous elf of Mayan folklore. I share two photos of our supervision of the Mayan train works. One taken by an engineer 3 days ago, apparently from an aluxe, and another by Diego Prieto of a splendid pre-Hispanic sculpture in El Ekbalam. He wrote, "Everything is mystical." It wasn't long before other social media users pointed out that the image of the alleged creature had previously appeared online 2 years ago and was not thought to be genuine. Exactly why Obrador had made that decision to post it up on Twitter remains unclear. It sounds like he got hoaxed. Even all AMLO standards, by AMLO standards, I think it was received as one of his most bizarre sort of interventions, said Professor Pablo Calderon Martinez of Northeastern University, London. And there you go. There's the image in the tree that apparently wasn't new, as he was led to believe, and then the sculpture. So I'm not sure how you correlate this, with a black and white image or a night vision image with a stone sculpture, but I can say they both look humanoid. But outside of that, I wouldn't draw any distinctions of, well, that's definitely a Mayan elf. I don't know what it is. Don't know, but it's somebody up in a tree that has very long white hair. So anyway, that's kind of unfortunate, I guess. Lord knows, I mean, if you follow social media, of course, there's people claiming stuff all the time, especially on Bigfoot groups. Oh, I saw this picture. And one of the recent ones was posted, I think, by Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, which is Kelly Shaw and his wife's group. And somebody had apparently sent in this picture they had from allegedly a trail camera showing the chest and abdomen area and an arm of what they said was a Bigfoot. And it was out there. It looked pretty convincing. It was like, wow, that really does kind of look like it could be something. And then it took Cliff Barrickman to go, wait, I took that picture years ago, except it's mirrored. And he put his picture up, which showed the exact same figure, including the same tufts of hair in the same direction, other than being mirrored or whatever. So it's like, there's a lot of hoaxers out there. There's a lot of people pitching these stories. And then, of course, when Kelly reached out to the original person and said, hey, wait a minute, this picture was by Cliff Barrickman, the person, I guess, didn't respond. So no shock there, of course, but there's just so many people that are really interested in trying to generate false information. And why, I can't pretend to know. Maybe they're looking for some notoriety, like, well, I caught the image of the Sasquatch chest. Maybe they're hoping to get away with it because instantly they would have notoriety in the Bigfoot communities and maybe would be doing books or talks or who knows what. But, you know, it's absolutely tragic and unfortunate. I mean, just go out there and find some evidence, find some tracks. Maybe you'll see one. Maybe you'll be the person to get them on film. But quit farming media that's already out there and trying to pull hoaxes. My God, you lazy bastards. So whatever the case, not much we can do about it, but there's the latest in a series, a sad, long series of hoaxing on the internet. And unfortunately, it looks like it sucked in the president of Mexico this time. And maybe he'll just say, oh, my account was hacked. That's a common scapegoat for people that get suckered. Oh, it wasn't me. It was my little brother on my keyboard. Can't tell you how many little brothers on keyboards there are around the world, but interesting enough, I don't know. I mean, keep looking. There is genuine evidence out there, even on the internet. It's just, you got to dig through so much crap to find it that sometimes it's hardly worth the search. But there's real evidence out there waiting to be discovered. I'm sure of that. So just go find the real thing. Don't farm the internet for your proof. All right. Here's an odd one. It looks like perhaps it's a newly discovered type of jellyfish or something, but this is from unexplained-mysteries.com from March 2nd. And this is eerie phantom jellyfish filmed off the coast of Antarctica. Yeah, I imagine in the oceans around Antarctica, we're probably going to find a lot of stuff up there that we've never seen before, but I'm pretty sure it's not a very well-researched area to begin with because it's freaking miserably cold. So it says a rare and fascinating species of jellyfish has been spotted, during recent efforts to explore the seas of the Antarctic Peninsula. How long is this? No, it's not long. It says, gliding silently through the frigid depths like a 10-meter-long silk ribbon, this remarkable jellyfish was first discovered all the way back in 1910 and has been seldom seen since. I'll bet you that's because nobody generally goes to Antarctica. It's a pretty cold, desolate place. It is known as that big-ass word that I'm not even going to try to say. Sorry about the ass, but it just came out. Stygiomedusa gigantea, or the giant phantom jellyfish. Despite its enormous size, some specimens have been found to measure up to 10 meters in length. It has only been sighted a mere 126 times over 100 years. No wonder then that images taken of it during a recent expedition have gained so much attention. Here we demonstrate that the personal submersibles, now increasingly deployed by the expedition cruise industry, can be vessels of opportunity for biological research in the polar regions. The study authors wrote in the journal Polar Research, "We describe direct observations of the rarely encountered Scyphozoan Stygiomedusa gigantea. At water depths of 80 to 280 meters in Antarctic Peninsula coastal waters, as an example of the potential that personal submersibles present for the scientific community and we outline possible research avenues for utilizing these platforms in the future. Well, there you go. I guess you can utilize them to find out more about this big ribbony jellyfish. I wonder if they sting. They must, right? They must. I think all of them sting to some degree, but some of them are actually lethal. So I don't know if this is one of them, but I wouldn't want to be the guy to find that out. So very cool. How are we doing for time? Let's see. 1 minute. I guess we're just about done with the news, since that's about all the time we have for it. So I guess we're going to close out the news, get back to the rest of the show just in time for the first break. So buckle up, and thanks for joining us for the news. On with the rest of the show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and at it here on the Paranormal Portal. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you. More and more of you are coming in the door, so that's always cool. Wonderful to see those numbers climb. And tomorrow night's Bring a Friend night here on the Paranormal Portal, so never works exactly right. But I keep trying that. Keep trying the Bring a Friend night, but not a lot of biters. No, I think you guys have done wonderful. Thank you for spreading the word about the show, letting other people know that we're out here doing what we're doing. It's great to see new faces, as always. I saw some new faces when I came in. I'm going to do shout-outs here pretty quick. So if you want a shout-out, say something in the chat, because in the YouTube chats right now, looks like TFR is kind of silent over there. I think I'm the only one in that chat room, so not sure what's going on over there. But yeah, if you want some kind of acknowledgement in the YouTube chat, then by all means type some words. So far in the YouTube chat, the typers, the chatters, I mean, there's more people there obviously than are listed here, but some people just choose to kick back and listen, and that's okay. But B Mora's on top of the list along with Batman. Good to see you, Batman. I missed you. Good to see you show up again. Bertie Kuda is here, as is Brian Frisk, Colleen Bowman, Deb Varner. How you doing, Deb? Deb's going to be joining us on the 11th to do free psychic readings to callers of the show. So mark the 11th on your calendar. Someone else, Brenda Joe, just popped in as well. Good to see you, Brenda Joe. Eric is here. Good to see you, Eric. Thanks for coming in. Isaac Areola, good to see you. Jared Crazy Indian, that's a new name for me. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. If you're brand new, appreciate you checking it out. John Stevenson, John Temprin, the Johns are here. Good to see you guys. K-Love is here. How you doing, Kay? Last Light is here. How you doing? Luna Moonicorn is here. And Maggie is here. And Ninja Dave is here. And Opal is here. Opal Demetria, she apparently chopped off the last name. I think it was a fine name, but Opal is certainly easier. Some new, Paul Kolowski. Paul Kolowski, welcome to the show. That's a brand new name. I've never seen that one before either. Welcome. Good to see you stopping in, and thanks for coming to check it out. Rachel Gets It Right, one of our fearless mods here. And we got Ruthie Castro. How you doing, Ruthie? The Fourth Color is here. Good to see you, brother. Tracy Gale and Virgil Bowman. That's it. That's the whole list. That's what I got. I'm sorry if I missed you. I think I got everybody on the list now. Last Light, I said, yep. Okay, so I think that's everybody. So thank you guys so much for being here. I almost closed the chat. Derp. All right. So I just want to thank you all for being here, and please feel free to, if you would, please like the streams. That helps us. If you're watching when it's not live, leave a comment. That helps us a ton as well. It's all about the algorithm, of course, and I'm here to tell you, like getting noticed and getting attention on YouTube is double tough. It truly is. Like our audio podcast that's hosted on Libsyn, it gets incredible amounts of listens and downloads every week. I mean, it really does phenomenal. But I'll be darned, the YouTube is just it's a chess match. So I'm not sure what the actual chess combination is for YouTube, but I keep trying because I love doing these live shows. I love being able to connect with you guys and do this in person. I think that that's powerful as well. Not that one is better than the other, but you know what I mean. I guess maybe podcasts are more accessible because you don't have to watch anything. You just kick back and listen. They're audio podcasts. Those are now also hosted. A good portion of this season is hosted on YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube page, which is Paranormal Portal, youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, you will find a playlist on the main page near the top. That's podcast episodes. And those are season 4 of the Libsyn podcast that we do. So those are out there, and we'd love your support there. And if you like what you're hearing, go and head over to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all the different platforms that you might find podcasts on, and check out the other seasons. We are literally in our 4th season now. We're in the last third of the 4th season. So there's 32 episodes right now that are hosted on YouTube. And we'd love to have you go check out the other 3 seasons worth of shows. They're phenomenal. There's just there's amazing shows out there. So I'm very proud of that, and your support there would be greatly appreciated as well. So if you're a podcast listener already, you listen to Sasquatch Chronicles or The Confessionals, then do a search for Paranormal Portal, and you'll find us there as well. So wherever they are, that's where we are. Damn it. We are everywhere, I think. Every available player we should be on. And if you have troubles, I've been getting a few emails here and there. Not real common, but some people are having, like Podbean was having trouble with our episodes lately, and I've been working with the Libsyn tech support on that. And another one just came up. Google came up on an email that I received that people were having, a person was having trouble listening to our episodes on Google, but they were able to listen to any other show they wanted. Just for some reason, the Paranormal Portal was having a problem. So I don't know what that is exactly, but if you run into problems listening to the podcast, please reach out via email so I can, let the tech team know, and they can dive into it and figure out what's going on. So anyway, all right, let's get to the next segment of the show. And the next segment of the show is one that I really love. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with it, we do have a Discord server. And I don't have a static link for it yet. In fact, that's something I got to do really soon. I got to upgrade it so that I can get a static link so we can always have a link to send out. But we have to constantly get these temporary links until I do that. But this is just part of the deal. This is part of the expenses of running a show, is there's always expenses and charges, like having live phone lines and having a Discord server. So far it's free, the Discord, but if we want to have a static line and upgrade the features, I gotta send them some money. So I'm gonna have to do that. But certainly want to bring you guys the best experience we can everywhere that we are. So here's the link as it stands tonight to join the Discord. If you're not already a member, please become a member. Love to have you over there. Brent, Brent, shout out your Teespring apparel. Oh yeah, we have Teespring apparel too. The link is in the description if you want shirts or some hats or other stuff that have the Paranormal Portal on it. By God, we'd be proud if you'd sport our logo. I don't mean to be like trying to sell you guys on anything. So, I don't do that a lot, but maybe I should do it more. I know the other channels do it every episode, but I don't know. I just figure if people are interested, they'll find it. But maybe I gotta mention it every once in a while. So yeah, thank you, Ruthie. I appreciate that reminder. But on this Discord server, we have started this questions. They're called questions of the week, and it's a chance to ask all of you on Discord what you think about different phenomena. And so before every live show, unless we have a guest, I will formulate a question and put it on the Discord and say, hey, what do you guys think? And I love the feedback you guys are giving. It's just phenomenal and awesome. And no joke, I've really come to think about things a lot more dynamically than I ever could have on my own, just because of the things you guys are putting in there, like what you think. The thing with the paranormal is nobody knows. Nobody knows this stuff for sure. Nobody knows what's going on. And so I always tell you guys what I think. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like my voice. Thank you, Luna. I always tell you guys what I think, but I also think it's wonderful to hear what you think, because the things I think about, I've thought about tons. And of course I take special care when I formulate my opinions, because I'm taking into account a lot of many different things that I've read and studied through the years. So that's how I've come to my conclusions. But you guys have brought new ideas to the table, and it's just amazing to me. So this is the Discord question of the week. That was a huge setup for just a question, but I just want to make sure everybody understands the dynamic of it. So let's get to the Discord question of the week. All right, let's do it. Where is it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Discord question of the week. And this is what our Discord server looks like. And let me drag it over a little bit so you can see a little more, if I can. Why isn't it dragging? Why isn't it moving? Oh, I'm not clicking on the right part. That's why. Derp. Okay, here we go. here's the Discord question of the week. This is the Discord server. Over here is where you see the list of different servers. Currently, I belong to 4 of them. But over here, of course, is the threads or the discussion areas. And we have a tutorial. If you're brand new to Discord, you can click on Discord tutorials here, and that'll walk you through some videos of how to use Discord if you're not already familiar with it. But after that, you just basically click on these different topic areas. If you're interested in Bigfoot, click on there. Start looking through the amazing amount of links and discussions that have been happening over the past several months regarding Bigfoot. If you're into Dogman, click on the Dogman. There's lots of amazing posts. I know Maggie and Chucky and K-Love have been very busy over there, as well as several others. The Fourth Color is busy over there via V81, V2, or X. I forget how to say that name. Anyway, there's some great people over there having amazing conversations, and so we'd love to have you become a part of it as well. So there's ghost, UFO, extraterrestrial encounters, cryptids, miscellaneous, and strange phenomena. So there's all kinds of stuff in here to check out. We'd love to have you get involved. So getting back to the question of the week, wherever the hell that is. Okay, here we go. Here we go. The question for tonight's show, Friday's show. Why is it scrolling so drastically? There we go. Question of the week, Friday show. With the popularity of ghost hunts and ghost investigations, many are taking part in these activities. Spiritual presences can pose a risk to the living. This largely isn't an issue, but many have had incredibly negative experiences with dark entities. But do you think that the act of searching for these beings puts those individuals at a greater risk of negative presences or interactions than just the average person going through the course of their lives? So essentially, does ghost hunting, does going out and looking for these things? Oh, thank you, Ruthie. Thank you, Ruthie. Appreciate. And someone else. Who did it? Oh, Ruthie did it twice. Thank you, Ruthie, twice. That's very sweet. The idea is that are you more prone to find a negative entity if you're actively going out and seeking for ghosts? And a lot of people go to places like old prisons, old hospitals, haunted houses, areas of interest where people may actually have darker things, I guess. So maybe the answers itself in a sense, but do you think that there's any more risk by virtue of investigating, or do you think that people can just find negative entities anywhere, I guess is my question. So ZX81V2, who's another active, wonderful person on the Discord, says, as with all things in life, some things help you, some things have no effect on you, and some things will kill you on outright. Never treat your tiger as if it's a bird. That's a good point. Yeah, I think the problems can be that often people weigh in on what it means to ghost investigate because they've watched a lot of TV shows. And that can be, at the very least, can be very misleading because those are highly edited. Those are moments over many, many hours of looking around. So it always makes it look exciting and intriguing and amazing. Like, oh my God, they went in there and there was all this stuff going on. It was crazy. Well, they might have been there for a day or two. You don't know. And it's easy to sit in the comfort of your own home watching a screen and go, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Wow, that chair moved. But when you're there in person, it's a whole different thing. So, I think that's right. You always have to go into this stuff carefully because we don't really know what we're dealing with. So that's a great point. Don't treat the tiger like it's a bird. The Sage is piping in next, and the Sage says, if you seek out the strange and unusual, you will find it. Sometimes it finds you. If I go out looking for brown bears and all the brown bears I find are cute and cuddly, does that mean that there are no angry bears? Does it mean that no one will encounter brown bears that are not nice? Brown bears are dangerous. People encounter them whether they are looking for them or not. We also know how to avoid brown bears. We don't know enough about spirits and ghosts to say that they are not dangerous. When you seek out the unknown, there are dangers and scary encounters. That's why many people do it. The excitement of finding new things drives many researchers to seek out ghosts and cryptids and UFOs. Yeah, good point. I mean, just because you watch Ghost Adventures and the guys are going through this crazy experience, but then you tune in next week and they're just fine. They're going to another crazy experience. And it may give you a misleading idea of what this stuff means. Many people that do these investigation shows have talked about how things have followed them home. And I think that's the kind of the scary version, is when you make yourself known and something decides, hey, I think I want to hang out at your house. And then they do. And then you got to deal with it there in your own home with your people you love, maybe. Maybe you live alone. Maybe you live with your family. And so suddenly your passion becomes their problem. And that's a real risk. That's a good point. K-Love says, my guess, it doesn't matter if you're seeking it out. I think it depends on the nature of the entity, being good or bad. And it likes being a trickster. It could be feeding off your fear to further harassment. Yeah, good point. Might also depend on its relationship to you in some cases. Aside from this, I believe some people have the ability to feel and see these entities, and whether they want to or not, their gift makes it possible. Yeah, good point. A lot of people, when they're coming into their awareness of those awarenesses, the awareness of the awarenesses, become beacons, I think, for these entities. Like, perhaps when that trigger gets switched, it just turns a light on. And that light is maybe visible to these things that might otherwise be wandering around doing their thing. And so that's a good point. I mean, some people don't have a choice. They don't have to go look for it because they are already beacons. Maybe it's their energy. Maybe it's their aura. Maybe it's the light that they carry. Maybe it's any number of things. Could be, who knows, karma may come into it, like somebody from a past life that's really pissed at you might follow you into this life. Who knows? So I'm just throwing ideas out there, but that's a great point that, of course, sensitives deal with this stuff, whether they're looking for it or not. It finds them. And I think it can find anybody. I mean, there are many times people live in these brand new houses and they're like, what's going on? It's haunted. It's a brand new house. There was nothing here. This was, virgin timberland. And we made a plot and built the house and it was fine for a while. And now look what happened. Well, a place doesn't have to be old. It might be the people. You might bring something in. It might follow you. It might be in an item that you brought into your home. It might be any number of things. Some ability you have that something keyed in on that was always in the area forever. Who knows? So those are great points. Paradox Fossils says, yes, I think many don't have a clue what or who they may be taking home with them. Those with mediumistic or channeling abilities with desire to help regardless where they find them are more able to deal with the more negative ones. Yeah, that's a good point. We really don't know. I can't tell you how many stories we've covered on the show where it's like, well, we had a little girl, so we got it dolls and gave it a room and stuff. And then it got dark and horrible and we had to call an exorcist. It starts out sweet and cute and with the best intentions and it just turns ugly. So you're right. You just don't know what you're dealing with. Within says, yes, I believe that people who seek out ghosts are putting themselves in greater risk for negative experiences and just other paranormal, supernatural, natural phenomena to occur. I think this is especially so if the ghost seeker has been under stress, good point, has not been getting decent amount of sleep, good point again, and if they're not eating properly or if they're in poor health, very good point. Those are all things that couldn't lead to a weakness in your aura, which many believe could make you more susceptible to negative influences. My thoughts, just here and there, 66 says, my thoughts are that you're welcoming unknown energies if you're not specific, and that is where you get the nasty ones attaching to you. Yes, anytime you're dealing with a spiritual presence, you should be making it's like channeling. You open a channel by preparing yourself, and then you start channeling, and then when you're done, you have to close it. You become a portal when you're channeling to a degree, although it's with intent. Well, the same thing is true for investigating. Once you're entering these dens of maybe infestations, you are opening yourself to them, so you have to take protective measures. Faith-based things are really important. Prayers before and after. Very clear statements. You are not allowed to, blah, blah, blah. Do not follow me. You cannot leave here with me. You're not welcome with me. You must stay here. Things like that. Others can be specific types of things like crystals, talismans, amulets, religious symbols, sage, sweetgrass, frankincense, cleansing, smudging, etc., etc., etc. Candles can be powerful for that kind of stuff. So whatever you observe. But anyway, without going too far into it, I never try to offer too much advice like that, because I really think that kind of advice has to resonate with you. Whatever you observe and believe is what you have to adhere to. It won't matter what I say, because my beliefs are maybe not in line with yours. So what I say might work, might not work for you. Luna Moonicorn, B. Mora says, absolutely, there's a greater risk to those who do not have the knowledge to establish boundaries for the unknown. If I were to choose to go into a ghost investigation, I would rely on an experienced investigator to set up the rules of engagement with entities for the safety of the participants. Humans are dangerous when frightened. Add the unknown, and it's a recipe for disaster, unless you can keep your calm. Yeah. I mean, and who knows until you're in a situation like that, whether you can or not. Watching the TV and seeing this stuff happening on a screen is way different than feeling something grabbing you, pinching you, poking you, pushing you, breathing in your ear, whispering into your ear, just really horrible, creepy stuff that people can experience, scratchings, etc. Luna Moonicorn says, when I see these shows where investigators provoke spirits, I can't stand watching. Me too. I think that's absolutely juvenile. I think it is disrespectful to the spirits. If spirits are real, I feel they should be treated with the same civility as if they were a live person. Yeah, very well said. If it feels like a positive spirit, if it feels like it's a negative or it's been intimidating, I think investigators increase the chance of putting themselves in danger or followed by a negative spirits or energy. And I think investigators who provoke and are aggressive put themselves at greater risk for bad experiences. I think those who approach more respectfully and cautiously reduce the chances for better and safer experiences. Amen. Well said, Luna. Jody, Private Eye Paranormal, wonderful to see you, Jody. Thank you for weighing in. You're definitely a greater opportunity to find these things if you're actively looking for them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to negative things as much as more of negative and positive. For example, me and Stacy have utilized a different way to communicate with spirits that has been very effective. We also brought home a young lady from a cemetery that stayed with us for a couple of years, and we also found that when the other spirits realized we could communicate with her, they flocked to us. We would have to test the spirits to make sure it was her, because others would lie and claim to be her just to get us to talk to them. It was a good experience, but a huge lesson that things could have been really bad. We are now much more careful of what we are looking for and how we communicate with them. Excellent points. Yeah. And I think that's, that being able to connect like that is an incredible, an amazing ability, but it's also carries the liability, because once you start communicating, there's an agreement that you are open to communicating. And does that act as, I think that some spirits, some entities, maybe not all, but some require a certain amount of permission. Sometimes they get that permission just by making you so afraid that you can't do anything, and you surrender to them. And I think that's why fear is dangerous in spiritual situations. You have to be strong. You've got to stand up. You've got to keep yourself. It's everybody gets startled, but between startled and afraid are two very different things. But I'm kind of spiderwebbing, but I get what she's saying. That you just because if you can speak to things, like say you're using a Ouija board or something, are you sure that's who you're talking to? Are you sure? Because I mean, I don't generally play with them, but I have. And I'm never sure what I'm talking to, and I don't trust it at all, because you don't know. And it's the kind of thing that you don't want to get wrong, because you don't need to bring something dark into your energy and into your experience. So great thoughts, everybody. Thank you all so much for weighing in on this. I appreciate your responses. Everybody, it was brilliant. And if you want to be a part of these discussions, please join the Discord. As stated before, I'll put the link in there again. If anybody wants to become a part of our Discord, that's how you do it. Just click that link. It should launch it for you. Oh, hey, Father Mike. Good to see you, brother. Missed you. Father Mike's been a busy guy. But I appreciate your email too, brother. Thank you for responding. So, yeah, I appreciate your feedback, everybody. We're going to go to the hour break. Don't go away. We got a lot more to go through. A lot more Paranormal Portal just around the bend.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart.
Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it in hour number 2 now. Wow, the time flies when you're in the portal. By golly, right? It does for me. I believe I keep seeing the comments in the end of the show. It's like, wow, it's over already. It blows me away every time, and I've been doing this for 6 years. So I don't know what it is, but the portal is the time anomaly. And I guess spending that time with all of you is amazing. So thank you for being here. Father Mike's here with us, so we're in good hands now. He's been a guest a couple times on the podcast, and we've had some amazing discussions. I really feel incredibly fortunate to be able to talk to so many incredible people, all of you guys included. Anybody that's come forward to share their thoughts and ideas and experiences, to me, is an absolute honor. If any of you out there are dealing with or have dealt with paranormal things, I would love to hear from you. It's an incredible trust when I've had people say, I've been carrying this for 40 years, and now I finally talked about it, and I wanted to do it on your show. It's like, it's such an honor to me, and it's really a sacred trust, and I appreciate that trust in what I'm doing. And if you want to, if you would like, if any of you out there are listening to the sound of my voice and you have stories to share, and you'd rather not call in, but you have a lot of them, you're welcome to be a guest on the podcast as well. The podcast is, the format generally is speaking with, well, different viewpoints really, but oftentimes I talk to people that have experienced some incredible things, and if you've got stories to share, I'd love to have you on. I've got some great shows coming up in the near future. Just had a wonderful talk with Jack Carey. And if you're not familiar with Jack Carey, he is alumni on Gaia and the network Gaia that I'm sure many of you, or if not all of you, have heard of. And he's just an incredibly intelligent guy. I mean, that guy can just spitball facts, historical points, and information, and it's just incredible. My head just spins when I talk to Jack, but in a good way, because he and I just have these great dialogues, and it's fun. I hope you guys will listen to it. That'll come out on Monday. The new episode will come out on Monday with Jack Carey talking about aliens and technology. So I hope you guys will tune into that. And again, you can find the podcast on all the podcast players, wherever you find Sasquatch Chronicles or The Confessionals. Just look for the Paranormal Portal. By God, I'll be waiting there for you. So we're going to get into a story that I thought was really, really interesting. And this is one that Chucky actually posted in the Discord as well. I've had it open here for days, just going, oh, I got to go into this on the show. This is very interesting. And then Chucky posted it in Discord. I'm like, oh, I was going to go over that tonight. But, being as many of you maybe don't belong over there yet, hopefully you will. Hopefully you'll join the Discord, but you would have seen this article there already. But it's one that I'm going to go into now because it's really kind of a fascinating, to me, it's an incredible thing. We have this idea of of history in the fossil record and stuff. And sometimes things that we thought are long gone come back. And for reference, the coelacanth, the fish that was believed to be a prehistoric bony fish found around Africa and stuff, was thought to be long extinct millions of years ago, because they found fossils of it. And so they just figured it was done. And until somebody happened upon a tribe down there that was catching them and eating them. So then they found out that no, the coelacanths are still around and they're doing just fine. And we've seen the reemergence of many species that were long thought to be extinct. This one, I think, is bizarre. And that's the story I want to get into now. I was thinking about doing it on the news, but we have a fixed amount of time to cover on the news. So I just thought I'd cover it here and now. And what I'm talking about is this article from CBS News. Giant flying bug found at Arkansas Walmart turns out to be super rare Jurassic era insect. Jurassic? Seriously? Huh? They're back. So at any moment, I think we're going to see, Tyrannosaurus Rex and Brontosaurus walking down Main Street. But for now, it's a giant flying bug. In 2012, so it's actually quite a while ago, a 2012 trip to Fayetteville, Arkansas, Walmart, to pick up some milk turned out to be one for the history books. A giant bug that stopped a scientist in his tracks as he walked into the store and ended up taken home turned out to be a rare Jurassic-era flying insect. Michael Scavarla, director of Penn State University's Insect Identification Lab, found the mysterious bug, an experience that he says he remembers vividly. I was walking into Walmart to get milk, and I saw this huge insect on the side of the building. So it was just outside in Arkansas, just sitting on the Walmart. Everybody goes to Walmart, I guess. He said in a press release from Penn State, I thought it looked interesting, so I put it in my hand and did the rest of my shopping with it between my fingers. I got home, mounted it, and promptly forgot about it for almost a decade. Scavarla originally thought the bug he had plucked from the Walmart's exterior was an antlion. These bugs, according to the Missouri Department of Conservation, look like fragile, drab damselflies with an elongated body, four intricately veined wings, mottled with browns and blacks, and clubbed or curved antennae about as long as the combined head and thorax. But in the fall of 2020, when he was teaching an online course on insect biodiversity and evolution, Scavarla was showing students the bug and suddenly realized it wasn't what he originally thought. He and his students then figured out what it might be, live on a Zoom call. We're watching Dr. Scavarla, what Dr. Scavarla saw under his microscope, and he's talking about the features, and then just kind of stops, one of his students, Cody Mathis, said. We all realized together that the insect was not what it was labeled and was in fact a super rare giant lacewing. A clear indicator for this identification was the bug's wingspan. It was about 50 millimeters, nearly 2 inches, a span that the team said made it clear the insect was not an antlion. I still remember the feeling, Mathis said. It was so gratifying to know that the excitement doesn't dim and wonder isn't lost. We were making a true discovery in the middle of an online lab course. Scavarla then worked with the team to conduct molecular analysis on the bug in November. His research on the specimen was published in the Proceedings of the Entomological Society of Washington. Giant lacewings were once found across the entire continent, but by the 50s, the insect had been destroyed in the eastern part of North America. Why are they saying Jurassic then? If it's maybe they've just been around that long? I don't know. Their disappearance is largely shrouded in mystery. Well, it was the 50s. It was probably DDT. With some theorizing that they may have disappeared because of increasing light pollution. I don't think so. New predators and potentially even there being new earthworms introduced into the environment that changed the soil's composition. Why don't they address DDT? I mean, that stuff was sprayed everywhere in the 50s. It almost decimated the bald eagle population just by that stuff going from bugs to fish to eagles. The discovery of the Arkansas specimen represents a new state record, the first specimen recorded in eastern North America in over 50 years, Skvarla said in his research. This discovery suggests there may be relictual populations of this large charismatic insect yet to be discovered. What makes an insect charismatic? I'm just curious. That's a weird describer. He wrote, adding that the location in which it was found may be an ideal play for a large, showy insect to hide undetected. It could have been 100 years since it was even in this area, and it's been years since it's been spotted anywhere near it. The next closest place that they've been found was 1,200 miles away, so very unlikely it would have traveled that far, he said, but a finding like this really highlights that even in a run-of-the-mill situation, there are still a tremendous number of discoveries to make about insects. Well, there you go. That was by Lee Cohen, social media producer and the trending content writer for CBS News. So the headline was really misleading. It's a Jurassic era insect, makes it sound like it's right out of Jurassic Park, but turns out they're just about 50 years removed. But it's got to be DDT. I don't know why they're not addressing that instead of light pollution. Come on. It's because you guys were happy spraying this chemicals all over everything because you found a new bug killer. Turns out it killed everything. And then it polluted everything. Decimating populations. But anyway, whatever. I'm not a scientist, so I can't really say. But that's my take on it. But it is a misleading title because you get the idea that something was going on where it crawled right out of the history books. Well, only 50 years, not 250 million years. So that was misleading as hell. But whatever. So it looks like Pansy was literally the last thing that was said on here. If you're just tuning in or you're just coming in, this is the ghost radar here on the screen. It's not conclusive in and of itself, but I just thought it'd be fun because sometimes weird stuff happens here in the studio. So this will maybe be an indicator of some presences that are stopping by. That's why it's on the screen. That's what's going on. There was a detection earlier, possibly a detection, but it detected some anomaly. And it was two things, apparently one standing right by me, allegedly, according to the ghost radar, and then one standing by the camera, which you're looking through. So, is it really a ghost? Well, I'm not saying all that, but it's interesting. All right, so let's see. With 13 minutes left, I know we got the cryptid corner in the last half hour, but there's some big stories to cover. Maybe I should start with one of those. If I got a smaller one, that's a bigger one. That might be the whole second, after the second break. That one's huge. I'm just looking at what I got here, trying to plot my course for brevity's sake or lack of brevity's sake. We got 12 minutes. I think I can read this one. Yeah, I think I'll read this one first. From Sasquatch Chronicles blog, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wonderful site. Check out SasquatchChronicles.com. Check out the blog, because if you love Sasquatch Chronicles, you're getting only a part of the story by listening to the podcast, because there's so much more information that Wes posts every day on the blog. So definitely stop in and support what he's doing. But the article that we're going to cover now is coming from February 22nd, and I got 12 minutes to do it. God, I hope I make it, because I hate running into commercials on these. Something was circling the house. A listener writes, to give this a little more detail, I went up to my uncle's log cabin in North Pond in Woodstock, ME is Maryland, I think, right? We were up, or maybe it's Maine, I don't know, ME, whatever Woodstock ME is. Sorry, I'm just geographically challenged. We were up there using his place to go snowboarding on a Sunday river ski resort about 20 to 25 minute car ride away. My uncle's place is on a dirt back road and situated about 100 yards from the pond. It was snowing for most of the weekend, and the first night we were there, we had lit off some fireworks out front of the house, and towards the end of one of the fireworks, we heard a loud scream-like noise. Oops. We paused before continuing and looked around like, what the hell was that? But we decided it must have just been a weird sounding firework. As far as the next one went off, we heard a much deeper and guttural roar that lasted about the length of the last 4 shots of an XL Roman candle. Now, right across from the driveway, which is perpendicular to the road my uncle lives on, is a large cliff-like slope that runs about 35 feet, almost straight up. At the top, there are more trees, and this was the direction it had come from and the direction we were shooting towards. Next thing you know, an enormous log from a birch tree comes hurling down over our heads and into the driveway, followed by another roar. It wasn't more than 5 seconds before we were back inside, doors locked, and freaking out. We'd been drinking some, and we were arguing over whether it was the noises from the fireworks, from a bear, whether the weight of snow snapped a tree limb. I mean, we were thinking of everything. The rest of the night, I heard a man's voice. Sorry, it was in my earphones. The rest of the night, we wouldn't even look outside, but that was it. Nothing else. Fast forward to the next day, we woke up at first light and went snowboarding all day. We returned at around 4 p.m. and went inside to shower up and go back to the mountain to watch the Patriots AFC Championship game in one of the Mountain Lodge bars. When we walked outside to leave, behind my friend's Jeep was the same log thrown at us the previous night, laid perfectly straight across the driveway behind the Jeep. Ooh. Pansy's a symbolic love flower. Okay. At this point, we all thought one of the others was messing with us while getting ready, but no one owned up to it. We moved the log and drove to the mountain, and after watching the game, we drove back to my uncle's, and upon arriving, me and my friend, who also smoked, stayed outside to have a cigarette before going in. While out front on the stairs, we heard what we thought were footsteps, like crunching snow, and then the floodlights over the garage would set it off, and it would stop abruptly. We couldn't see anything, although these lights were pretty strong. It was a very eerie feeling being out front and uneasy for both of us. Well, we finished and went inside. Dang it. Now, my uncle's cabin was custom built, a beautiful home, custom picked out, wood that was shipped and hand-picked from a catalog where they literally let you choose pre-designs or custom features that come to your land and build it for you. In about 10 years, my uncle started spending more time up there, so he built a 2-story garage to the right of the house and expanded the driveway. Now the lower level held his snowmobiles and a snowblower, lawnmower, etc. Upstairs was a fully furnished game room with a bar and a bathroom, wood stove, a futon, dartboard, and a tournament-style pool table. This is where we spent most of the time just hanging out up there. We would drink, play pool, watch TV, and then one person had a bed to sleep in up there. To get to the garage, he also built a breezeway that connected the main cabin to the garage. It was like a hallway / mudroom. On both sides were large pane windows, so on either side you could see the lake through the trees on one side down the hill a bit and the front driveway on the other. We had sent my friend to the main cabin to get more beers, and at one point in the night, he said, when walking back to the garage, the moonlight was shining off the ice from the lake and reflecting through the trees. And that's when he said he saw it. At first, he thought it was just another tree because it was backlit, and it had put an arm, which he thought was a branch down by its side. With an armful of beers, he scrambled open the door to the stairs for the game room, dropping and breaking multiple bottles, and came up white as a ghost. Me, being pissed off as he was trashing my uncle's place, starts to yell at him, and he just sat down silent, staring blankly off into space. While asking what the hell was going on, it was like he snapped out of it and, as fast as he could, pulled the blinds down on the back windows, while almost closing his eyes as if scared to look outside. We got his story, and it was so hard to believe at first, and being 25 at the time, we were, of course, breaking his chops. But then for the remainder of the night, it sounded as if someone or something was circling the house. We didn't hear this until we went to bed, and the radio, TV, etc. were all turned off. We heard some other weird noises also, almost like a train whistle, but there were no trains I knew of in that area. We had 2 or 3 days left in this weekend to go, and the next morning we packed up, shut off the water to the houses, and rented a hotel room at the Snowcap Inn at Sunday River. I had no clue what to think of all this for years until hearing some of your shows, and it makes me wonder what else you might have heard from this area or what you might think it is. I think we all think what it is. We all have thoughts of what this is. And again, throwing a log. My God, I mean, we don't know how big the log was, but it sailed over their heads and landed behind them. That's frightening. I mean, that's a frightening display of strength, whatever it is. And obviously, I'm sure along with all of you, we believe it was a Bigfoot. They are incredibly sophisticated in their psychological approach. And that's why one of the real reasons, I mean, of course, they seem to be intelligent. They seem to, behave with a pretty strict set of rules about how to regard people and avoid people and stuff. But it's stories like this where it's so psychological. I mean, it's a precision of psychology, what they do and how they intimidate and how they keep raising the pressure just slowly. It's never just a raw, sometimes it is. But generally speaking, they just apply a pressure and they keep that pressure up and then they increase it and then they increase it more. And they do more and more activities that never lets you relax. And I think that's part of their game. They don't want you to relax. They don't want you to be comfortable. They want you to be always agitated, not really sleeping because you're on edge, and doing things like letting themselves be seen. Now, for some people, Bigfoot is just a fantasy. But for all of these reports, all of these stories, all of the correlations in these stories from people that don't know each other, a lot of times from people that had no belief in this prior to an experience. So it's not like they just went out and studied what do Bigfoot do and what can I say happened to fabricate some yarn. I mean, some of these stories are of encounters come from just this wide sampling of society, from judges, doctors, lawyers, pilots, maybe not pilots as much, but, I mean, professionals, executives, people that you wouldn't think would be fabricating stories for attention. And then there's the everyday people, your people doing construction, people doing logging, people that they don't want to be the scared person. Soldiers. There's just this whole cross section of our humanity that has had experiences with these beings. What are they? Well, I mean, there's so many ideas out there. There's so many potential possibilities. But the point is that whatever they are, they're smart. They're not stupid. They're not lumbering oafs. They're not just simple apes. They have an agenda. I mean, they literally play people like a flute. And it almost sometimes seems diabolical. But I don't think they do it for any other reason than self-preservation, because for whatever reason they've lasted and survived this long because they've chosen our absence. They've chosen to be away from us. And maybe that's why they're still out there, is they know how to stay away from us and they know how to keep us away from them. I mean, it's got to be calculated. It's got to be an intelligent response. For whatever reasons, I think that they don't normally, they may not act aggressively because they may have a culture. They may have a rule and guiding principles like don't hurt, don't harm. But they may also know that if they harm people, then lots more people come and look. And if they take someone, hundreds of people will be flooding an area or, more looking for a person. So like the whole area is now out of bounds for them. So I don't think they do things like that because they know that by doing that, it creates discomfort for them. It pushes them into places they may not choose to normally be. I think these things have a have a territory. And it might be a huge expansive territory, much like a grizzly bear, where they have a whole range and they may work this range throughout the year. And it might be hundreds of miles where they go throughout the course of the year because they know when berries come in, they know when deer and other things are in estrus, and they know, I mean, they just know their world. So I just think it's so intelligent. I think sometimes we are their entertainment. I agree, Eric. I think that we are. I really think you're right. And I imagine if you lived in a world of sticks and rocks, a TV looks pretty freaking amazing. So to look in the window and to see, what are they doing? So, all right, we're going to go to the last break. We'll come back and we'll do another Sasquatch Chronicles story, and then possibly a Phantoms and Monsters if we get the time. So don't go away. Lots more coming up in the last half hour. I'll be here waiting for you. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last half hour is upon us. Wow. Only had a couple detections tonight. Nothing too severe. But I got called a pansy earlier. The Ghost Radar also has a word generator on it. Again, I haven't found much relevance to most of what gets spit out of here. I don't put a lot of stock in that kind of stuff, but it's kind of funny. It said one word, and it was pansy. So I guess I'm a pansy. But according to Rachel, it's a love flower, so that's a good thing. I guess I got that going for me. John, what is it? Who is it? Rick Wiggerson said he and his granddaughter saw a Bigfoot back in the day, and that's frightening. My 7-year-old granddaughter and I saw a Sasquatch in the mountains. Wow. Yeah, be careful. Oof. It's one thing to see, I don't know, to see a ghost. It's one thing to see maybe a river monster or something like that. But I don't know, something about a Sasquatch really freaks me out. Not quite as bad as a dog man or the rake / crawler / ghouls, whatever they call them. It's got several different names. I think it's the same phenomenon, all those, but it's just buzzwords. People keep coming up with new names for stuff. But I think something like a Sasquatch, you just don't know. You just don't know. I'd like to believe that they're gentle creatures. I really would, and I hope that that's the case, at least largely. But I think that there is enough biodiversity in them that there's probably wonderful ones and there's probably not wonderful ones. And I don't know. Obviously, you just can't tell when you just glance at a person. It's like, that's a good person. Well, some people can, but it takes quite a degree of empathy. But generally speaking, you don't know until you get to know somebody. And God, if you get that wrong, it's tough when it's just people. But if it's a 8, 9, 10 foot tall monstrosity, then it could be terrifying. So anyway, I'm glad you guys are okay, Rick. Thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely frightening. But we got another article here from Sasquatch Chronicles blog, and I want to get to it right away because it's a long one and I don't want to run out of time. I will go into overtime if need be, but I think we'll be okay. And this one is from Sasquatch Chronicles blog. Excuse me. And this is February 22nd. Its hair was flowing off the back of its head. A listener writes, my grandparents ran a summer camp out in the mountains in New Mexico, about 40 miles east of Albuquerque. So every summer I'd go out there and spend the summer with them living up at the camp. It's a pretty big piece of property, about 150 acres, and butts up against the Cibola National Forest. Well, in 1992, I was 12 years old, and I was walking with my grandfather up to our powerhouse to get the generator started. We made all our own power, solar and wind, with a backup generator. And while he was messing with that, I wandered away like I was prone to do, playing with my dogs. Well, they're dogs, they are dogs, but they were basically mine. Anyways, I was just playing with sticks like boys do down in a ravine that ran along the backside of the powerhouse. This was late afternoon, almost evening. The sun hadn't quite set yet, but down low enough to where it was getting dark down where I was. The sunlight was just barely beaming over the hill that ran along the ravine. This area was pretty heavily wooded, but there was a clearing up the hill from where I was. After maybe 10 minutes, I realized my dogs weren't with me anymore. Well, that's when I looked up the hillside from within the ravine and saw this auburn-colored creature walking across the clearing. I couldn't see its feet. I could only really see it from about the knees / thighs up because it was just on the other side of the hill crest. It was backlit by the sun, so it was hard to make out details, but it was already clearly human-shaped, covered totally in hair. It walked so smoothly, like it just glided across the opening in maybe like 3 steps, almost no bobbing of the head as it stepped. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It was so otherworldly, and all those trees on either side of the clearing were a pretty good distance apart. It was clearly fast because it covered the distance really quickly, But it didn't look like it was running, just strolling along like it was out for a Sunday walk. It was incredibly graceful. Unfortunately, my memory isn't quite clear enough to judge the distances or its height, but I kind of had the impression at the time that it wasn't particularly huge. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe 6 feet tall. Totally conjecture on my part, but maybe it was an adolescence. That was the feeling I had even then, and I think the next time I'm out on the property, I'm going to go to the spot and measure things, but I could clearly make out its shoulders and arms swinging, which were really long and kind of thin. And its head was cone-shaped, with large tufts of hair flowing down the back of its head. The tufts of hair were somewhat curly and really stood out because it was so backlit. It was really hunched like... It wasn't really hunched like you see, and from where I was, it didn't really look super muscular. In fact, it was almost kind of skinny, but that's probably too strong a word for it. But it didn't have the bodybuilder look that many people describe. Naturally, I just froze. I was so scared. I couldn't move or make a sound or anything, and I only saw it for a few seconds, but it scared me like nothing else, and it wasn't until my dogs returned a few moments later that I was able to snap out of it. The dogs seemed pretty chill, like wagging their tails and tongues hanging out and happy to see me, so I felt a lot safer then. I have no idea if I thought they saw it at all or reacted to it in any way. I do have to say, though, even though I was super scared, I didn't feel like I was in danger. More like I was seeing something that shouldn't exist, and my brain just couldn't process it. After I regained my composure, I went up to the powerhouse and asked Grandfather if he'd seen it. He was a super rational dude. He was a nuclear physicist that worked on the bomb. So he told me I probably just saw a bear, but I knew it wasn't a bear. We had black bears up there, and from a fairly young age, we'd run into them reasonably often. I was familiar with what they look like. And especially at that point, I'd run into them by myself before and had been able to scare them off. This was not a black bear, didn't move like a bear, and was totally the wrong color. I'd seen Harry and the Hendersons, which totally creeped me out as a kid, and had watched things like Unsolved Mysteries, so I knew what they were. And I did immediately think it was a Sasquatch, and I just couldn't believe it was real. It was a lighter color than Harry, but that could have been because it was backlit, but it was definitely reddish-brown color. It was the kind of the same color as a bark on a ponderosa pinyon tree. I guess that's pinyon. My eyes are watering, so I can't really read it. If you know what that looks like. And I did not see any skin tones outside the shape of the face. I could see the outline of its nose, and I couldn't make out any more details. I don't know if hair covered its face or not. I told my best friend about it the next day at camp, who was into paranormal stuff, and he said it probably wasn't a Sasquatch because they don't live down there. Your friend's wrong. They live anywhere they want. They live up in Washington. So after a while, I kind of just convinced myself I must have imagined it or misunderstood what I saw because of the way it moved. I just couldn't believe it had been real. It was like a dream. Once in a while, I'd bring it up at parties and things, but always with a huge caveat that, yeah, I saw one, but it probably was just my imagination. Just can't be certain. And then my second experience was in 2001. We moved to New Mexico in 1994 to help my grandparents with the campsite since they were starting to slow down. And I basically spent every day hiking on the property all through my teenage years. I really do know that property like the back of my hand, and I would often camp by myself out there, even as a young teen. Often without a tent so I could see the stars. I just loved being outside. Having that experience really didn't put me off being out there alone, especially since I thought it probably wasn't real. Well, in 2001, I was involved with a program at my church that was similar to Big Brothers of America, and I was mentoring a kid who was 10 years old. I took him camping quite a few times, most of the time at the property because it was pretty convenient, but this particular time, it was in September, so it was starting to get chilly in the evenings, but was nice during the day. It was dark out, so we were roasting marshmallows in the campfire, just doing typical camping stuff. I had to pee, so I went out in the woods, and when I came back, he was freaked out. He said he saw red glowing eyes in the woods on the other side of our tent. Well, I shined my light over there and didn't see anything and told him it was probably just some random critter and its eyes were reflecting the campfire. Well, after we went to bed in the tent, probably around 10 or 11 p.m., we started hearing this rustling and commotion going on, and it sounded pretty close, like maybe 20 or 30 feet away. The boy whispered to me, "Are you still awake?" Well, I was. He was again totally freaked. "What is that?" At first, I honestly just thought it was a bear, and I told him so. I told him there's nothing to be afraid of. I run into bears all the time. The black bears up there are such scaredy cats and would rarely stay around once they knew you were there. So maybe after 10 or 15 minutes of this, the kid whispered he was really getting scared. So I got out of the tent to see what it was, and I shined the flashlight all around and didn't see a thing, like nothing, which I thought was odd, but decided maybe it was something smaller, like a coyote or a raccoon or something like that, as sound gets amplified at night, and I was probably just misjudging the size. I got back in the tent and assured him that I am in these woods all the time, and there really isn't anything to be afraid of. After a little while, the commotion started up again. It sounded like something was building a nest or something. I got out again and looked. Nothing. Every time I got out of the tent, the noise would stop, and it would be dead silent, which was pretty spooky. Well, this happened maybe 2 or 3 more times within about 10 to 15 minutes between me getting out and checking. I started getting this feeling like maybe it was a person, like someone was just messing with us. I could kind of hear the walking around, and it didn't sound right, like maybe it was walking on 2 feet instead of 4. And that started to make me uneasy. I'm cool with animals, but creepy people in the woods are not cool. I started to get the mental image of some burly lumberjack type dude out there with a knife up to no good. And since I was with this kid, I have to admit I started to get a little worried. I didn't want anything to happen to him, so I just kept listening and listening. Well, this probably went on for an hour or so altogether, and finally, I just had enough, so I jumped out of the tent as fast as I could with the flashlight and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Get out of here!" Again, I didn't see a thing. When I got back into the tent, the kid was sitting up and just scared to death. And I finally asked him if he wanted to go back to our house, and he emphatically said yes. We grabbed our sleeping bags and walked back to the house, which was maybe 200 to 300 yards away, and spent the rest of the night inside. The next morning, I went back out to take down the tent and pack up, and I found this tree structure kind of thing that was, maybe only 30 feet from the tents. It was so stinking close. Well, I wonder how in the world could I not see what was making all that noise? The structure looked like a ground nest, but it was pretty big, close to 10 feet in diameter, which bears do make, but I understand they aren't usually that big. But there were all these branches lined all up around it, like a poorly made shelter, and there was some branches that were set in a teepee-like fashion. Well, more of a crisscross than a teepee. On the one side of it, but no roof to speak of. There were these huge claw marks all around on the trees and in the dirt, but the 4 long finger marks, no thumbprint that I noticed at the time. I didn't see any footprints, but I wasn't really looking for them. I was looking for bear prints because that's what I honestly thought it was, but didn't find any animal tracks of any kind, which I also thought was really weird. I really wish I knew then what I know now, because I could have really investigated and I would have known what to look for. The part that weirded me out was that it had to be something big to make the structure. Still thinking a bear, but how could I not see it? I shined my light directly at that spot and all around the area multiple times and never saw anything. There just wouldn't have been a good place for a bear to hide. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around how a bear could stay hidden like that. I basically just filed that away in my brain as just a weird experience. And hey, weird stuff happens, especially in the woods. I'm certainly not an expert on all things bears, so who knows? It wasn't until I started listening to the Sasquatch Chronicles that it dawned on me that that really could have been one. The thing that stands out to me now that's making me rethink everything were the boy seeing the glowing red eyes, the tree structure, and the fact that I just couldn't figure out what it was. I had seen bears before at night and identified them quickly. Like one time I came around a bend in the middle of the night and heard something, shined my light, and there was a bear that got scared and bolted up a tree. So, in my estimation, they're pretty hard to miss. But what do I know? And lastly, now that I'm rethinking things, I would hear wood knocks from time to time out there. And again, never thought much of it, but it happened enough that it's something I took note of. Always wondered what was making those noises because it wasn't a woodpecker. I have to wonder if what was out there was really Sasquatches. If they came around because of the kids at the camp. During the summer, there were anywhere from 150 to 200 kids there a day. We never had any of the kinds of trouble like the others report. Never had any rocks thrown at our house, nothing like that. And looking back outside of being creeped out, nothing happened. I don't think it was ever trying to get us to leave. It just didn't do anything to us. Just building its structure. Like it was minding its own business. Just not being particularly stealthy about it. Not sure why it would have wanted to be so close to us, outside of maybe curiosity. And that was another thing that makes me think it wasn't a bear. Bears wouldn't set up camp next to a human, especially after it knew we were there, would it? I was there a lot growing up and lived there as a teenager for years, so if they were around at all during that time, they likely were familiar with who I was. Maybe it was camping next to us to keep us safe. Obviously, that's all speculation. Maybe they'd eat me if I'd got the chance. I just think it being a camp and having so many kids around so often that perhaps that kept them passive or simply curious. Who the heck knows, but looking back, my experience was pretty benign compared to what you hear. Yeah, I don't think they go out of their way to cause trouble with people. It is really curious that it would set up a shelter so close, like within yards of that tent. And it almost seems like a sweet gesture, really. Like, oh, he's got his kid out there. Let's take our kid out and make a shelter too. We'll just share the campsite. I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one, right? But is that possible? I guess if perhaps over the years they had just become so acclimated to this person being around, it was just not a threat to them. Maybe that's possible. And again, as this author said, I mean, there's a lot of speculation. We just don't know. We don't know what the hell they're thinking, you know. But it seems as if it also wanted to be close for whatever reason. Maybe it's a lone one out there. Maybe it's just wanted to be close to a group. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Oftentimes there's speculation, and it is purely speculation that in Bigfoot family groups, there comes a time when they have to kick the aging males out to go make their own way.
Charles?
Ooh, we got a voice that time, but I guess it's Charles. Again, a random, it's so creepy in my ears, just all of a sudden, Charles. What the hell's that? I forgot that was on. But maybe they just maybe it just wanted to be close. Is that possible? I don't know. Again, we can only throw ideas at this phenomena because we just don't know. Nobody knows. You get people out there throwing around the word expert. I'm an expert. I know this stuff. Well, do you? Are you sure? You sure you know it? And I have to defer to what Wes always says. Look, nobody's got one in their garage they're studying, so we just don't really know. And I do think that caution is always the best approach, not because they couldn't possibly be good, but because we can't possibly know for sure. In my estimation, and again, what do I know? Well, nothing. And I readily admit that. I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of accounts of people encountering Bigfoot through the years. I've talked to many witnesses through the years. I've heard both types of accounts. I've heard wonderful accounts that seem endearing and beautiful, and I've heard nightmare accounts. And how do you know? You don't. So you have to assume it's the old adage. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I mean, yeah, I hope they are gentle, kind, wise, loving creatures that are largely benign, just doing their life and living the best life they know how. But can you bank on that? Well, no, because there are those people that have had horrible situations, absolutely nightmares, and were maybe even fortunate to come out alive. I do think that if these things were going out of their way to kill people, there would be no witness. I mean, they would just be gone. And certainly we know people disappear. So is that potentially a Sasquatch? Yeah, I think that's could be a fair bet in some cases. And maybe they got ugly because of people. Who knows? I know that people have a tendency to go, what's that? I don't know, let's shoot it. And then we'll find out. It's like, no, that's not good thinking. That's not a good plan. You don't start out throwing lead and then figuring it out later. Because if you wound one, we don't know how many there are. They could be incredibly endangered.
Coffee.
Coughing? Sometimes, yeah. Oh, that's a coffee. No, not till the morning. Thank you, though. I thought it said coughing. But, I think if you wound one, then you're creating a hate. Because these things need to be healthy to survive. So if you wound one, are you sentencing it to death? Are you sentencing it to be maimed in some way that it can't quite provide for itself, and then it becomes desperate? And then all of a sudden, people may join their food chain, because we're about the easiest game out there. They don't have to work to get us. We're pretty easy pickings, I'm sure. Especially as good as these beings are in their own environment. It's like we can't compete. Even the most knowledgeable woodsman would be outclassed by 100-fold. Trying to go head to head with something like this. This is where they live. This is where they've evolved and developed over countless millennia. So we are not going to be competitive to them truly in the wildlands without firearms. And even then, I think if they wanted us, they would pitch a rock from somewhere unseen and they'd take your head off your shoulders. So it doesn't always have to be up close and personal. But anyway, I don't want to paint them as an evil creature because I don't think that that's a fair assessment. But I don't pretend to know what for sure they are. I just think that you always regard the unknown with caution. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So just my little 2 cents summation of all of it. But special thanks to Wes for letting us use the Stories on Sasquatch Chronicles. That was nothing short of brilliant. That was a great story. Any kind of experience with any of this unknown stuff, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. Like we get this Hollywood idea of things like, wow, nothing really happened. You heard some noises, big deal. Well, if you're familiar enough with an area and you know the noises you heard don't fit in with what should be happening, then that's amazing. If you're dealing with a haunting and your cereal bowl moves an inch all by itself, that's incredible. Because something's being demonstrated that should be, according to traditional knowledge, impossible. You are witnessing something extraordinary. So any of this stuff that we cover, from the most benign of experiences to the most incredible, they're all amazing, and they all show us something about the world around us that we may not have already known. So just some thoughts. I think you believe what you want to believe. And remember, we'll be back tomorrow night. Sheldon will be joining me right here on the portal. I hope you guys will be joining me as well. And we'll dive into a whole nother episode of the Paranormal Portal. So right here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then, guys. All right, remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. Roll the credits. Charles.